On this episode tonight, we are doing the Scream franchise and Scream 7. Scream is one of the all-time you know, horror franchises, but I thought it had run its course a while ago. Does this invigorate it or just continue to pile on to the narrative that it's pretty much over? We'll have to find out.
Fucking go! Let's fucking go.
Whoop. Here I come. Here I come.
We will watch your career with great interest.
You are such a kid.
This is where the fun begins.
It's showtime.
And here we go.
Welcome into another episode of the Movie Geek Podcast. I'm your host, George T., and this is my review of Scream 7. I'll also have a little brief wrap-up of the Scream series as a whole, and whether we should see another one or not. Now, again, if you have seen the film already, I know it's only been out for a couple of days, and you like the film and you're watching this review, drop some comments. Let me know if you will agree with me or not. If you love the film, if you didn't love the film, I know where I stand, and I have been on, the last month or so talking about how I felt about what this movie was going to be about, and it exactly played out the way it did. Now, I will say that a few of the kills were pretty gruesome. They were pretty badass. But it doesn't negate the rest of this film. And I know that we may have some backlash to what I'm about to say, but I feel like we're trying to make this franchise relevant again, and I think it's been kind of killed off, especially with number 6, going the whole New York way, and then the announcement of Scream 7, where we're going to bring back dead Ghostface, and I was like, what are we doing? What are we doing? And that was all the way from last year. Then we get the trailer, and I showed the trailer, and my original thought was fan service. Fan service. Because after 5, when Billy Loomis's ghost was haunting his alleged daughter, who no longer is with the franchise, over a money dispute. And that's the reason why Neve Campbell wasn't in 6 to go to New York. And that is a key part of the end of this film, which is bizarre to me. That, again, she was in a money dispute and did not want to be a part of Scream 6, which I don't blame her. But to bring her back in 7 and kind of tidy everything up, it feels like it's tidied up fan service. Kind of a really convoluted circle to the end. So let's get into it. We're going to start off with a kind of an homage. So Kevin Williamson comes back to be the director of this film. And, he wanted to, have that legacy moment where, when he made this movie, Scream 30 years ago, a couple of days ago, it was the 30th anniversary of the first original release. So right away you get the fan service. Right away. You've got, the Stumacher house as an Airbnb, which you actually can rent out the house. But it's played up to, mimic everything that was in the first 5 or 6 films, all the Stab movies, everything else. Some memorabilia everywhere. So we get this couple who is there on a, romantic getaway. Well, the girlfriend is not really into it, and um, the boyfriend is like, oh, you're just, you know, why would you want to come then? And she's like, well, I really just wanted to be with you, and um, that sort of thing. But it just seems so cheesy because of all the memorabilia and everything. And so this is where the Airbnb calls and does the whole Scream, phone call thing where you gotta have get three answers right, or we'll kill you. But it's a recorded message, so the boyfriend disappears after they hang up, and the girlfriend gets an unknown call. And again, she picks up the phone. She hears the voice that she thought she heard on the phone earlier, and she thinks it's her boyfriend in the other room playing with her, even though it's an unknown phone. What, did he have a second phone on him? I, you know, and then he tries to scare her with the Ghostface get up, and she doesn't find it funny. But then this animatronic Ghostface that's in the house, which they had been, motioning the camera, starts to move on its own. So, she had gotten a phone call, and now this thing is moving on its own. And the Ghostface killer attacks the boyfriend first, stabs him, then has a beat down of the girlfriend. They get upstairs, they get to the top of the stairs. He falls over the balcony. This is kind of where you see it in the trailer, where he falls to the ground. She's hanging on by the chandelier, and she's trying to get back up onto the second floor. She slips from the chandelier. She falls straight down, and Ghostface Killer turns over. She lands straight onto the knife. He rolls over and then proceeds to set the house on fire. And in a scene that we don't really get to see, and little inference, she's laying there with blood everywhere. He pours the gasoline on her, throws the match, and you can hear her burning. He leaves the house, and the house goes tumbling down. And this is where we begin. So Sydney and her family now. We have Joel McHale playing her husband Mark, who is a cop. We have Isabel May, who plays Tatum, her daughter, her oldest daughter, who is in high school. And she and her mother don't have a really strong relationship because her mother obviously does not want to burden her with all of it, even though at times she references, oh, hey, my whole life is in these stab movies. Why do you need to know more in depth, and so on. But before that, we get into the original Scream callback, where Tatum is in her room and her boyfriend sneaks into the house and then replays the entire Billy Loomis speech in the bedroom. And then Sydney comes walking in and knows that the boyfriend's in there, kicks him out of the house. So that raises a little bit more tension between Tatum and Sydney. And, it's one of those struggles that Sydney has. Again, naming her daughter Tatum after her best friend who died by getting trapped in that doggy door in the garage, which was kind of gruesome at the time. Hadn't been done before. Kind of a crazy spot to do a kill for. But Tatum was, obviously her best friend, so she named her that. Sydney now works in a little cafe, and she knows everybody. Her neighbor next door Anna Camp plays Jessica, her next door neighbor, and a friend. They're sitting around, um, talking about, their relationship with their kids. Um, Jessica's boy, who's Tatum's age, Lucas, he's played by Asa German. Uh, he plays kind of um, the creepy kid, as they call him in this film. He is a true crime junkie who watches a lot of this stuff and really admires the whole story of Sidney Prescott and how she survived all this time. So, um, you know, she goes in, so they all leave. Sidney goes into the office. She gets a unknown caller from Woodsboro. And, obviously it's the whole voice and everything. And she's like, haha, very funny, where I get this all the time, blah, blah, blah. And she hangs up. But the phone call the next time comes up as a video video call. And there on the screen is Stu Macher. So, the story now wants you to believe that maybe Stu did survive the night that he took a TV to the head. He looks grizzled. He looks like he's got scars, and he is still 100% just a whole lot older and more scarred up. And Matthew Lillard, give him all the credit in the world for wanting to do this. Again, there was so much call for him to be back after the Billy Loomis ghost thing. Fans wanted to see Matthew Lillard again as Stu Macher. But how to make him undead? And that's what I wanted to know, was if they were going to do it, how could they justify making him alive? So they keep wanting to plant these seeds that he is alive. And I know this is spoiler action here, but are we going to believe it? Well, he is filming this, and Sidney's getting aggravated because she's like, "You're dead," and he's like, "No, I'm still alive, blah blah blah, and I'm outside your daughter's school," and talking about Tatum and how lovely she is, and why would you name your child after my ex-girlfriend who I killed? And it enrages Sidney more. She winds up hanging up the phone, calling Mark, and gets the police down to the high school. And Tatum is a drama student, and I know I'm skipping a little bit, but so Tatum was with her friends in the auditorium, and we'll meet the friends here. We've got, her boyfriend first, Ben, played by Sam Recknick. We have Chloe, played by Callista O'Connor. And then we have Hannah, played by McKenna Grace. And so they are rehearsing, and then after their rehearsal, they wanted to stay around and work on their routines. So they are practicing. McKenna Grace is in this harness thing where she's flying around like Tinkerbell when the lights go out. and the kid that was running, I don't have his name, unfortunately. He was just a side character. He was manning the restraints and um, the rope tether, and he gets sliced and diced off camera. And then Hannah is now caught in the air, and now is getting sent all over the place, and going up and down and so on. So then she's now suspended in the air, and now is facing a set design where there's a staircase, and out pops the Ghostface Killer. He comes down. Now this is a quite interesting kill. And so he starts to, or obviously there's got to be somebody who is controlling Hannah, because she is kind of swinging back and forth and going back, and he is the Ghostface Killer. He is literally down there, and he's taking slices, as she goes by, cut. She drops down a little bit further because she's trying to get out of the harness. She comes across, and he literally cuts her all the way down, and just guts everywhere. And Sidney gets into the auditorium just as he is admiring his work. She shoots like a stormtrooper, and he escapes. So now Hannah is dead, which leaves now Chloe and Ben to be now prime suspects, because they were in the building but didn't see anything. Well, of course. I mean, that's how we're going to set this up. We also have the possible suspect in the drama coach. His name was George, played by Timothy Simons. I kind of dismissed him right away. I know they were kind of trying to, because he was quite harsh to Hannah and to Tatum, but realistically, that as we know in Scream, they like to throw you off a bunch of sense, turn it off. So we go a little bit further, and they get home. The cops search the house, and they're gonna have Tatum go upstairs, grab a bunch of stuff so that they can send her away. She's like, "Why don't we stay and fight? My friend, a couple of my friends are dead, and why are we running?" And Sidney's like, "I don't want you to have to deal with what I'm dealing with, what I would deal with, so I'm sending you away. I don't need you to have this." And she's like, "Why? Why can't you just teach me what you are and what you know? I want to be strong like you." And she's like, "I don't want you to be that strong just yet. Like, I don't want you to deal with this." So, as we often know, when people search a house and they search everywhere and you think they do well, they missed one spot: the attic. So out comes the Ghostface Killer from the attic, and he turns off the lights. Sidney and Mark go out into the hallway, kind of whispering to Tatum because she's down the hallway. She's now kind of inching her way out the hallway, and there the Ghostface Killer has the knife against her throat. Now he doesn't speak, so they keep asking him, "Okay, let her go." Sidney's like, "Let her go. You want me. This is what you want." Still doesn't say anything. Okay, you literally just had a phone call with her, or maybe it's another killer. Maybe there's two killers, and somebody called Sidney not too long ago, and then killed two of Tatum's friends, and now you're not going to speak. Like, I was kind of thrown off by this. They break away. They Mark has a tussle with the Ghostface Killer. Then Sidney and Tatum escape into an escape room. Now, for some reason, they just panic room. I'm sorry. Why they don't stay in the panic room and kind of wait on things, I don't know. But they start to slide down the walls, kind of like a trap door kind of thing. And of course, the Ghostface Killer hears something in the walls, and from the scenes from the trailer, he starts stabbing the walls and trying to get to them. Obviously, he can't. So they escape down, to the back of the house. Meanwhile, the Ghostface Killer goes downstairs, and Mark is not down there, so now he's looking around. Mark and him tussle into the yard. They're, spearing each other all over the place. Ghostface Killer rolls into the street, stands up to come back at them, and then is immediately run over by a car. What? Yes, he was run over by a car. And in that car, fan service, it was Gale Weathers, of all people. Gale Weathers. What terrific timing. She literally was there right as the killer was going after them again. Oh, and that's not all. We get Randy's kids. Mason Good plays Chad. Jasmine Solveig Brown plays Mindy. They are helping Gale try to get her career back. Meanwhile, Mindy is trying to get her career started. And Chad is just there along for the ride. So again, full circle fan service from 5, where she met Randy's kids and they talked about this, that, and the other. And of course that was missed in 6. A lot of things were missed in 6 because I went to New York, and I don't even want to talk about it. So I'm like, well, here we go. We got Gale. We've got Randy's 2 kids. It's, again, fan service. We had Stu Marker on the video saying he was the killer. He was still alive. I mean, and again, knowing who was on this cast list, you start to wonder what else could go wrong here, or what else fan service could we get? Stick around. So now Gale is trying to help Sidney help her husband try to find this the killer, or at least find out if Stu is alive, because seeing Stu on the screen shook her, but she knows he's dead, and so does Gale. But doubt starts to creep in when you continually see his face. He makes another call, or Ghostface Killer makes another call. Stu's face is right there. Gale and Sidney kind of look at each other going, this can't be real. Let's go and find out. So they go to a mental ward where the killer that got run over was staying. So they need to find out what answers are. Like, was Stu actually there at the psychiatric ward that this guy came from? So they meet Marco, played by Ethan Embry, and he is the doctor that was in charge of the guy who got run over. His name was Carl. And he said, he was obsessed with, true crime and that sort of thing. But he never talked about Sidney. So I was like, okay, so if he was not talking about Sidney at all, why would he be obsessed with trying to kill Sydney? And then he was like, well, there was another patient that was here. His name was John Doe, because he had memory lapse from 30 years ago. He didn't know what had happened to him, and he was staying in a room down the hall. Cindy says, all right, can we go see the room down the hall? So the room down the hall is empty. It's all nice and tidy and everything else. There's nothing incriminating at all in here. And then Margot gives an elaborate story about these two, Carl and John, talking about murdering and so on. So and then they said, well, is John Doe back here? Did he die? What happened? Well, John was released 2 weeks ago, which would fit the timeline of the Woodborough burning down the Mocker mansion. So, okay, we're planting that seed some more, and it's driving you fans like, yes, we're going to see Stu. All right. Still not buying it. So now we get the all-important kids are going to break curfew, and they're going to meet and defy the curfew orders. So we get all the suspects together with Chad and Mindy as their moderators. So we have Ben, the boyfriend, we have Tatum, we have Chloe, and we have Lucas. And now they're talking it out and so on. Stu makes a phone call, or Ghostface Killer makes a phone call, saying that he is at the local pizzeria place because Chloe's parents own the pizzeria place. And he says, your daughter is here, and I'm going to kill her. And Sydney's like, no, she wouldn't have broken curfew. Well, she would if her dad wasn't around. I'll get to that in a minute. So now Sydney's in full court press mode to get back toward the pizzeria, and she has a full-blown panic attack and now starts to run up the street and just head running toward the pizzeria. And this is where shit starts happening. Obviously, Ben is there, and he is looking over some files of possibly AI deepfakes. So could it actually be Stu? Could it be somebody masking it to, for AI that it is Stu and it's actually somebody else? So Ben decides to take Tatum home as they see stuff that's going on, where Gail thought it would be a good idea to have an interview to try to draw the killer out. Well, it did, and now Tatum wants to go home. So the boyfriend gets her into the car. Well, he kind of leaves the laptop open, which leads you to believe that he was the one that was making the deep fakes, and now he could be the killer. She winds up escaping the car, but is stopped in her tracks by the Ghostface Killer. She takes off and runs, leaves him in the car. Okay, so maybe it's not the boyfriend. Or it could be. Or it could be. You never know. Meanwhile, back inside the pizzeria, the lights go out. Lucas and Chloe decided to go their separate ways. Mindy and Chad have a quick talk and say, well, why are we letting prime suspects walk away? We all know how this ends. Well, actually, we do, and it wasn't one of them who killed them. So we get Chloe being chased down. She winds up falling down, grabbing a knife, and stabbing Chad by accident because she thought the Ghostface Killer was behind her when he was. Ghostface Killer actually was behind Chad and pushed him out of the way. So Chad now gets stabbed twice, thrown to the floor. Chloe escapes. Meanwhile, Mindy gets stabbed and is left. Which kind of surprised me that he didn't try to finish her off. But he was after Chloe. Meanwhile, Lucas is in the other part of the restaurant, winds up in front of Chloe. Chloe tells him not to go in the kitchen. He says, "No, I got this." Next thing you know, there's a tussle. Lucas is thrown through the doors, pushed down onto Chloe with huge gaping wound. Chloe then hides behind the bar. Ghostface Killer can't see her. Then does the old rope-a-dope. Opens the door to signal he is gone. She gets up and she dies in a very weird way where she is dragged across the bar, breaking glass, and glass sticks into her neck and kills her. That just leaves good old Lucas. Lucas now is gasping for air. Probably a bad move. Probably should have just stayed down. He's grabbed by the Ghostface Killer, dragged across the floor as he sees Chloe dead on the floor. And then in one of the most unusual kills you'll ever see, Ghostface Killer picks him up and jams him down on this spiky bar tab. So as he is crushed down, the beer tab opens up and beer comes flying out his mouth. I'm like, what are we doing? It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. So now there is two Ghostface Killers. One was inside the restaurant because there's no way that one was chasing Tatum outside and couldn't have gotten into the bar or to the bar area of the restaurant that quickly. So we cut away. Tatum is getting chased down the road. She's yelling help, but it's curfew. Nobody's around. She hides behind the thing, and then of course there's a jump scare coming. But instead of the Ghostface Killer, it's Ben. Ben's like, "I am not the killer. Don't worry about me. I'm going to save you," or whatever. Boom! Ghostface Killer kills him right there in front of her. She escapes by pushing the Ghostface Killer through a glass window and runs to her mother's business. She opens the door by knowing the combination because obviously she works there. She goes in, she locks the door, and now is hiding. Sydney calls, and outside the window, Ghostface Killer can hear it. So now Ghostface Killer needs to know how to get in. Now he or she could break down the window. But this one decides to open the front door. And how does one open the front door, you ask? They push the combination in. Okay. So how would the Ghostface Killer know what the number on the door was? So now you got to start thinking outside the box here. Who could have been the Ghostface Killer? Because we know it can't be Stu. Stu's dead. Or even if Stu was alive, how would he know what the combination was? So it had to be somebody that knew Sydney very well. Have we seen this person yet? We don't know. But we will. Tatum winds up in the office barricaded up. Sydney calls her because she knows she's not going to be able to get there in time to stop the killer. Now tells Tatum that she needs to take the gun out of the safe that's in there, She'll tell her how to use it. She doesn't want to use it, but she knows she needs to. The gun has wall-piercing rounds because she asked Tatum to shoot through the walls as she's watching on the Ring camera. Bam. Now she tells Tatum to go out and shoot him or her in the head to make sure that they're dead. And of course, Tatum goes out there and goes, well, I don't see them moving. And she keeps yelling, shoot him in the head. Shoot him in the head. Boom. Ghostface Killer wakes up. And now, they have a brawl in the little diner area. And just when she thought she was going to be able to escape, the second killer runs full speed ahead. They tackle Tatum, and that's where it gets interesting. Or maybe not. I don't know. So, Sydney gets a call from the killer. Stu's face is on there again. Now, she's like, what do you want me to do? Don't kill my daughter. And again, in the trailer, I don't want to kill her until you're here. And where is here? Where the heart is. So she goes home. Now, meanwhile, Mark has disappeared. Well, we know why. Because the Ghostface Killer had taken Mark out, stabbing him. There is a section of the house that's being worked on outside. So there's a lot of plastic sheets that are up, and he gets wrapped up in one, and the Ghostface Killer stabs him. So now Sydney gets to the house. She locks the door. Now, I heard this from everyone in the theater almost. Why is she locking the door? Why would she lock herself into her house? I don't know. I mean, she's got Ghostface Killer in the house, and maybe she doesn't want the Ghostface Killer to leave. I don't know. Anyway, screen on the TV comes on. It's Stu. But it's not only Stu, because it is, spoiler alert, it's an AI fake. Stu is not dead. He is dead. But again, we got fan service because we got to see Matthew Lillard as Stu one more time. We also got to see, as she went through, another Ghostface Killer, and that was Billy Loomis's mother, played by Laurie Metcalf. She is now on the screen. Then the Ghostface Killer is talking about friends along the way. That's when Dewey shows up. David Arquette saying that, Sid, everyone that you love dies. Give it up. And then finally, we get Roman Bridger, Scott Foley. Yeah, we're just bringing them all back as deepfake AIs, but aged as they have. Impressive. Not really. So finally, we get the classic opening scene where Sydney now is the Drew Barrymore role, where she is now confronted with Tatum being tied up in a chair outside. But this time, it's a little different. We have the Ghostface Killer with a knife to her neck, and he unmasks himself. It is Marco, the guy who works at the psychiatric ward. Way out of left field. Gotta give him credit for that. But then we get the big, chilling surprise. Ghostface Killer number 2 comes out, and lo and behold, it is none other than the next door neighbor, Jessica, who plays the drama to a T. she talks about being a fan of Sidney Prescott and that she was the ultimate final girl. But Jessica wanted her time in the spotlight to be the final girl and was going to be the one that was going to rid the world of Sidney Prescott and all of her drama. Okay. Alright, well, whatever. So, Marco goes and grabs what he thought was Mark's dead body to kind of illustrate a point that they were all going to die. And Mark somehow survives all of that stabbing. He probably got stabbed like 5 or 6 times and was encapsulated in that plastic. How does he survive that? And again, I thought about it afterwards, and do we survive how many stabbings in so many movies? Yeah, anyway. So let's get to the end of this. So Mark is still kind of, with it, and he kind of sets his hands free, and sets Hannah free while the killers are talking about how they set it all up, how they made the deep fakes, how they made her want to believe that Stu was alive, even though we all knew that, but you fans wanted to see it. So there you go. You got it. So, while that's going to happen, Tatum escapes by self-defense as she pushes her way back, and Marco is killed right away. Jessica escapes into the project area, and now it is one-on-one, the two final girls. Great little battle goes on. Sidney stabs the ever-living shit out of her, and she falls to the ground. Tatum comes to see if her mom's okay, and Tatum has a gun. She goes, Sidney asks Tatum to shoot her in the head, and lo and behold, somehow Jessica's still alive, because she's not there anymore. And you're like, wow. At least if you're listening to this and you haven't seen the movie and you're like, yeah, this is kind of dumb. Yeah. So finally we get the kill of the day, which is quite amazing itself. Jessica makes a run at both of them. They both have guns. They pop off 5 or 6 rounds each into Jessica's face before she falls to the ground with her face pretty much holed. And that's pretty much it. Gail comes in for the final time with Chad and Mindy, who escaped. They had their moments where they weren't sure they were going to survive either, but they kind of all walk away from the movie. That's how it ends. Well, Mark is taken to a hospital and survives somehow still. So we got fan service. We have that full circle kind of moment where the beginning was the homage to his original design of Scream, which was a phenomenon. And then we had the ending where we had that Drew Barrymore scene where her boyfriend was outside on the porch while she was, trying to answer the questions before he died, and then before Casey Becker died. So again, as I said from the beginning, it was fan service. It was also money grab. You got my money because I needed the content, really. George didn't like it either. Again, he might have read some reviews beforehand. I don't like to read them. I know what the scores were going into the film, which was critics hated it, but fans were kind of mixed on it. So, but again, I didn't want to read any of that. And I'll probably read some of that later, but seeing the film, and then wanting to do this right away, I didn't bother. So again, the Scream franchise reshaped horror back in the day. Scream 2 was a continuation of that, where we got we got Billy Loomis's mother trying to get revenge on Sidney. The third one kind of falls short, where we have this estranged brother, Roman, who's plotting this revenge thing, and then winds up dying in a very weak fashion. And we get 4. We get a cousin this time getting involved. Trying to re-energize the franchise. Then we get number 5, where we go completely off into Billy Loomis's illegitimate child, probably. Which, again, for many, didn't make a lot of sense. Where she, so did Billy obviously cheat on Sidney and had this child before he passed away, and the mother was all alone? That's how it looked to me. We also don't have Jenna Ortega in this as well, because they were going with that, and so it gets convoluted. I know Ghostface is iconic. Every year during October, everyone wants to have that mask, and then you see the reels of oh, I run away from serial killers, except for Ghostface, and then women run at Ghostface killers, and it's kind of a kink for a lot of people. But I think as a franchise, it kind of just needs to end. Well, there's many franchises that need to end, and this one clearly does. I don't know how many more storylines you can have where Sidney and now Tatum may have to survive, copycats and so on, because we don't have any more original characters anymore, because every Ghostface is pretty much dead. 5 had 2 Ghostface killers that were basically copycats. They were obsessed with the story of Stab and wanted to recreate it. 6 was kind of a homage to all of the 5, but it was off the rails completely for me. And again, I wanted to kind of see this as a full circle fan service. So for the deep-hearted fans, you're going to love this film, because you get your Stu Macher that you wanted from after Scream 5. You wanted him in 6, they didn't give it to you, but Kevin Williamson decided to give him to you here in 7. So I hope that you enjoyed it. Now again, seeing Stu on the screen, Matthew Lillard did an amazing job with it. I'm not saying that they didn't do a good job with the material. I just knew from my perspective it was going to be full fan service, and it was exactly that. We had full circle moments. We had everything touching upon it. Basically chunks of each of the movies, iconic spots in each of the movies to this point. As I likened it to J.J. Abrams doing what he did with Episode 9, and did a whole fan service thing that kind of just threw everything off. It was fast, it was choppy. We kind of got a little bit of that choppiness here in this film. So I'm not going to say it's a bad film, and I'm not saying it's a good film. It is somewhere in the middle for me. So again, it would be like a 3. I call it an even. Because if you are a deep-rooted Scream fan and you wanted to see the Stu Macher return, and some of the kills were pretty interesting, you're going to like the film. However, the AI thing may turn you off, and again, some of the kills are a little over the top, which some people don't like. But if you look at it in totality and look at the actual film itself, I know it's a slasher film, but if you look at the storyline in this and the full circle moments and pulling apart a lot of these movies, it's literally not that good a movie. It really isn't. So, what do you guys think? Again, fan service is fan service. We all know that. Scream 1 will never, ever be dethroned as one of the all-time great horror movies. There's no doubt about that. Scream, the original Scream, Kevin Williamson, did an amazing job with it. And it revolutionized the horror industry. But Scream 7 doesn't do it for me, and it probably won't do it for you either, unless you are a diehard and you kind of can forget about the whole fan service thing and just saw it as a slasher film. Because if it didn't have Scream attached to it, I could see how it would be a better movie, let's say, because of the kills and, it's just a slasher film, and slasher films are good. There's no wrong, answer to that, So again, I hope Scream ended here. And again, I don't know, because Hollywood likes to think that money makes you want to get another film. No, it doesn't. A lot of times it doesn't. And I want to see how it does on the second weekend box office, because we've had movies that have done really well out of the gate and fallen right off. The only two movies that have stayed consistent through the first 2 months of the year, now going into the third year, was Avatar, which lasted 6 weeks. I had no real big drop-offs. And then Help, which still went 2 weeks, but didn't have that big drop-off from the third week. But every other film that has taken the #1 spot has had a huge falling off. This may happen here with bad word of mouth or bad reviews, but people are going to go see it. I guarantee you it's going to be #1 when I do my episode on Wednesday. So, that being said, guys, I will see you all at the movies.
You like that, baby? Let him know where I came from, yeah!
See you next time. Bye.
Waiting for you. Goodbye. Goodbye. Bye. Goodbye.
Hasta la vista, baby.
That's all, folks.